Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am so excited for today's video. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. I've never done this on YouTube yet. Granted, I just came back from a hiatus after 2 years, but bear with me. I've never done any top 5s or top 10s for music. Obviously I did the top 100 list, but this is finally the first time I am giving you my favorite albums from any calendar year, honestly. And why not start with 2021? The year's about to come to a close, and there was quite a bit of music that came out this year. Now, I'm only going to keep it and limit it to 5 because, to be honest, I haven't really listened to like that much. And a lot of it is just kind of a lot of mainstream stuff. So, I didn't get to listen to albums like, sometimes I might be Introvert or, what's the other one? Sinner Get Ready. I didn't get to listen to albums like that just because I usually like running down an artist's discography, seeing where they go, seeing how they evolve, that sort of thing. So I just didn't really make it through those artists' discography at all. But, there are quite a few albums I really did enjoy a lot this year. Not too many I loved, but hey, there's enough to talk about on this list that I did quite a bit, so yeah. And one other thing I wanted to mention before I get into it. I can't believe ABBA came out with an album this year. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Now, at number 5 on my list, I have Cavalcade by Black Midi. Now, Black Midi is a post-rock outfit from the UK who made a few splashes a couple years ago with their debut album Schlagenheim, which I thought was really, really good. And the great thing about this band is because you look at where rock music has progressed or either degressed to over the past 25 years or so, there really isn't anywhere you can take it anymore. Radiohead was really the last band who kind of created this new soundscape and took the genre to different levels that we really haven't heard before. But ever since then, obviously it's like we don't have Pink Floyd, we don't have the Beatles, we don't have these really super innovative bands that were making great music when there was still a lot of ground to lay, a lot of groundwork to get across. But I listen to a band like Black Midi and I kind of think, well, hell, this might be the way. And the thing that is so great about them is all their influences, because obviously there's post-rock, math rock, post-punk, industrial, prog, jazz, avant-garde, classical, baroque, orchestral, you name it, they've got it. And that's what the thing that most intrigued me about this album, because their first album really had a lot of those sounds too. Hell, there was one song off their debut album that sounded like a Grateful Dead song. I'm serious. This band has a lot of talent across. And you listen to their music and they're obviously not just throwing together these random sounds. They obviously have an extensive knowledge of music theory that comes across in almost every song, especially on this record. You have one of the songs that's an ode to the star of the silver screen, Marlene Dietrich. And it starts off with this very kind of bossa nova-esque acoustic guitar strumming pattern, and it really kind of builds and builds, and it gets more intense as it goes along, and it's kind of about her performing for these people, but somehow kind of sacrificing her own self-worth or identity in the process. It's a really, really interesting song, and definitely one of the standouts on the record. But you also have a lot of great songs on there, like Slow, that starts off with this really, really odd time signature, and there's this really kind of jittery electric guitar part, and the drums are going on underneath it, and it really feels almost, it definitely sounds like it was influenced by Radiohead quite a bit, but it's so cool because it's kind of like this slow descent into death, per se, and them kind of like embracing it. It really is a really cool song. And then there's Hogwash and Baggerdash, which is also such an interesting song musically, and I definitely think one of the standouts. The last 9-minute track on this album, Ascending Forth, it describes exactly what I was talking about with their extensive knowledge on music theory, because he's talking about ascending force. The title is spelled F-O-R-T-H, but in the music, he's talking about ascending fourths, as in musical dictation. And really, I mean, it's such a great song. It's a 9-minute prog song about this guy kind of stuck in writer's block, and then he kind of breaks the pattern of monotony that he's used to making these songs and constructing these pieces, and tries something bold and different, and then he gets condemned for it, which we do see a lot of times, you know, from the mainstream and whatnot. And so eventually the song kind of concludes with him being like, alright, I'm going to make the soulless music that I guess the masses can enjoy, but like, what gratification am I getting out of this? What, you know, kind of new ground am I breaking? Really nothing. And I think that's the thing that's great about this album. I mean, despite its pretensions and all, because I mean, really, I mean, come on, you hear post-rock, you automatically think of pretentious sometimes, but it's so cool because they're getting these unique ideas out there and emphasizing it with their music, accenting it, if you will. And yeah, sometimes, especially with this genre, you can't always hear the vocals very clearly in the mix, but even so, I mean, there's no denying that I have ever heard an album like this, ever. So I gotta give credit where credit's due. It's super enjoyable. It's 42 minutes or so, and it doesn't feel that long. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked out Cavalcade by Black Midi, give it a shot. At number 4, I have Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler, the Creator. Now, if you told me, like, a year ago that Tyler, the Creator, would be making better music today than Kanye West, I would have thought you were crazy, but here we are. I mean, man, talk about an artist's growth. I mean, this guy was making really laughable, really immature, really kind of schlocky music. And then, ever since Flower Boy, he's been putting out these really introspective, deeply personal albums, and kind of bearing his soul in a way that most rappers are very afraid to. I mean, this guy really talks a lot about his personal life, and I think Igor was easily one of the best albums from the past 10 years. I really think that it was such an artistic leap, you know, and it's just the whole synthy kind of vibe to it, and everything that Tyler had kind of built towards up to that point came through on this very introspective, very, you know, easily digestible concept album about, you know, this relationship that he was in. And while I don't think Call Me If You Get Lost even quite reaches the heights of Igor, I think it is a really solid step in his discography and in his career, because this is the thing. Yeah, is it a bit more braggadocious? Sure, but at the same note, he's kind of earned that, because it's not like, oh, he's just like talking about himself the whole time. He has some really, on this record, some of his most political songs, like Massa and Manifesto. I mean, really some of his most powerful pieces from a political standpoint. And also the thing I love about Call Me If You Get Lost is he keeps those beautiful synth lines that he was going for on Igor, and really brings so much out of it musically. And I mean, you look at Wilshire, which is 8 minutes long, and just the story he's telling, the rapping on there, I think it's one of his most introspective, one of his most lyrically powerful songs, and you know, really a masterclass in storytelling, especially in hip-hop. And so I really think that he has come a long way, and while I don't think this is even his second best record, I think Tyler, the Creator, is going to be heard for years to come. We're going to keep getting great content from him, and I honestly can't wait. I love the guy. He's also hysterical. I mean, just an entertaining character in the industry itself, and also just a really damn good artist. I'm so glad he made that 180 turn in his career, because, man, I'm impressed. For my third favorite record of 2021, we have For the First Time, the debut album by Black Country New Road. Yet again, another UK post-rock outfit. And really, I think this is the one that captures my attention the most. They come off as a love child of Salint, Talking Heads, and the Velvet Underground. Which in my book is a pretty damn good combination, I'm not going to lie to you. But, man, I mean, as soon as you hear that opening instrumental, you know you're getting into something interesting here. I mean, because really they present a very unique sound. I guess a lot of these post-rock bands do. But there's something about Black Country New Road that really stands out. And I think it's the fact that they have, like, a violist, they have, I think, a trombone player or something. I don't know. It's been a little while since I've heard this record, so bear with me here. But yet again, you got a really great use of free jazz and, you know, very math rocky time signatures. But the thing that's really interesting, I forget the singer's name, the lead vocalist of the group, but he has this very kind of David Byrne-esque delivery that comes through on all these tracks, especially the track Sunglasses, which is so bizarre when he's chanting, "I'm more than adequate, leave Kanye out of this." I mean, it is just so bizarre. But the thing that really draws you in is the very cryptic lyricism, but it's very gripping at the same time. And I think that's what I love about a lot of these songs. I don't think it's one of the best debut albums of all time, but damn it, if Science Fair isn't one of the best songs I've heard all year, yeah, just forget about it. I mean, this is a band, while I don't quite love this record, I might just be on the cusp of it. And I know they're coming out with a new album next year, so man, am I excited for that, because I can't wait to hear what this band has to do, along with Black Midi, because they're just so interesting. Like, you know, I love hearing these indie bands that get the shine. And yeah, I'm going to be very much looking forward into what was probably going to be a bright career for this band. Well, now folks, alright, we're getting into really the only two albums I loved from this year, because I really like all these records, but these are ones that I am going to revisit quite a bit down the road. And yeah, I mean, let me get right into it. My number 2 is Happier Than Ever by Miss Billie Eilish. Yeah, this is probably one of my most anticipated albums of the year, and for good reason. I mean, her debut album, When We All Fall Asleep, Where We Go, I think is one of the greatest debut albums of all time. I think a really game changer for the landscape of modern pop. And so, naturally, I was so excited to hear this. While I don't think it's quite as good as her debut, I mean, man, she knocks it right out of the park with this one. Her and Phineas, this is not a sophomore slump in the slightest. And honestly, it has some of her best songs, because this album is a bit more introspective, where a lot of people felt When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go was very kind of edgy and very kind of like, oh, you know, pent up with all this teenage angst. You really get so much more layers to these songs, from the lyrics and just how her life has gone in the whirlwind of her massive popularity. I mean, there's no denying she's right at the top of the pop charts and just in general. And so you start this album out with Getting Older, which I think is just so beautiful. That I'm getting older, you know, like that, just that beautiful Billy vocal line, and then it's so weird, you know, like that, those vocals that are just almost hushed, but yet they're so clear and precise and so controlled. It's just, she's such a beautiful vocalist, I mean, and really has an identifiable voice, no doubt about that. But even so, this album has some of her absolute best songs, whether we're talking about My Future, which is probably right at the top of my favorite Billie Eilish songs. It's, you know, it's lo-fi, but it doesn't sound lo-fi, which I guess you could say for all her music. But really, I don't like to throw this out there very often, but it does remind me, at least the chord progression on the song, it reminds me of a classic Stevie Wonder song from the 70s. See? That's why I don't like throwing it out there. But I think they absolutely deserve the praise on here. And obviously, we had the singles for a long time, like Therefore I Am, which came out at the end of 2019 by this point in time. And, well, actually, no, 2020. What am I talking about? But you know what I mean. So there's a lot of stuff going on here musically. There's even really, really interesting transitions between the tracks, especially between Halley's Comet and Not My Responsibility. Yeah, I mean, just Not My Responsibility almost sounds like a Pink Floyd song, but it's a spoken word kind of meditation on body image and how people perceive her. And you get so many other songs talking about her past relationships and kind of like mental abuse, especially on Your Power, which is a really good song, not my favorite on the album. But man, the title track to this thing should have been the closer, if you ask me. And I think one of the album's more glaring weaknesses that it wasn't, because it's such a powerful ballad. It starts off as a very ukulele-driven song, and then it kind of turns into this alt-rock banger that's kind of compressed to all hell. But man, it really delivers. And I just think that Phineas and Billie Eilish are one of the best songwriting duos in such a long time. And the fact that the production is so clean, and the fact that they're just doing this obviously in a bigger place now than Phineas's bedroom, but still, that doesn't make it any less impressive. If she keeps this up, then we are going to have years of a very, very incredible artist. And I think at this rate, she could go on to become one of the all-time greats. I don't even doubt it for 1 second. And yeah, that's only my second favorite album of the year. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, okay? Now, I don't think I have to explain to anybody who really knows me what my #1 album of 2021 is. But hell, I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm so excited to talk about this album anytime I get the chance to. And of course, I am talking about the debut of the two-piece, the legendary combination of Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars, An Evening with Silk Sonic. I mean, yeah, this, to me, instant classic. And it's such an interesting combination, putting the two of them together, because I've always loved Bruno Mars. He's like the only artist from middle school that I still listen to and enjoy without cringing. And obviously, yeah, his songs aren't lyrically like masterpieces or anything, but man, is he the king of hooks. And he's just had so much success on the pop charts already. I love 24 Karat Magic, even though there isn't a whole lot of substance there, but whatever. It's such a fun pop record. And then you got Anderson .Paak, who kind of climbed his way out of obscurity to the point of signing with Dre and really kind of becoming this really incredibly talented, very versatile artist. And so it's interesting to see someone so popular with someone a little bit more under the radar, if you will. Not a whole lot of the mainstream knows him. And they come together, make this throwback 70s album, which just kicks absolute ass. I mean, man, putting these two guys together was such a genius idea, and obviously of their own doing. But man, you start off with that intro, which features Bootsy Collins, a Funkadelic, and I mean, he kind of acts like this MC throughout the course of the record, and he's so playful. He adds so much charisma to the record, but then again, I mean, that's just adding on top to the already ever so present charisma of Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars, because their vocal chemistry together on these tracks is astounding. You feel the energy, you feel like every single thing they are doing in the studio and just how much fun they are having. Because this is the thing, this is one of the most fun records I've ever heard in my entire life. It only runs like 31 minutes, but damn it, I'm like loving almost every single second of it. And obviously Leave the Door Open is just as close to perfect of a song structurally as you get. It has that throwback sound. It has these incredible chord changes, these chord lifts, these bridges. I mean, everything about it screams classic. And then right after that, you get Fly As Me, which just has one of the best hooks of the year. And Anderson's like kind of rapping, like he's kind of rapping on the track. He's kind of also, you know, has this very melodic sense to how he's flowing along, and just that boom, 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 down, like that bass groove. Oh, you mean it just sinks into you, and it does not let go. And while Anderson is like singing, you already know he's a talented singer if you've heard any of his records. I'd recommend check out Malibu if you haven't, because that is a really great record. Bruno Mars just launched straight into the stratosphere. I mean, this guy is one of the greatest vocalists of all time, bar to none. And especially when you're listening to Put On a Smile, which, oh my, just forget about it, man. I mean, that is probably his greatest vocal performance of all time. And I already knew this guy was so talented. I've been championing him for years, even though people kind of, you know, crap on him because his music doesn't really have any substance to it. But look at what this guy can do. And yeah, these songs aren't lyrically that incredible, but they're so much fun. They're so well structured. I mean, every single track on here, Skate is amazing. Even Put On a, well, I already mentioned Put On a Smile, but After Last Night, which a lot of people have said is a ripoff of Dick in the Box, I don't care. It is so much fun. It has such a sensual groove to it. It has that amazing line where they're talking about, like, I threw my phone out the window so I won't call any girls, and then they bring it back where they're like, if I had my phone, you know, and like saying I'd call every girl I know and say goodbye. And I just love how they play off each other, even more so in every song. Their humor is so there, especially in Smoking Out the Window, which yet again is another killer track on there, but maybe one of the funniest lines in the whole album, where he's like talking about, it's like, got her badass kids running around my whole crib like it's Chuck E. Cheese. You know, it's so funny, and it's so, you know, it just harkens back to that classic soul R&B sound of Marvin Gaye, Isaac Hayes, all this amazing stuff from the 70s, and they put their own twist on it. Well, not really reinventing the wheel by any sense. I mean, with Anderson just bringing so much musicality, and especially his drumming, which is also great. The fact that he's drumming on this thing is amazing. I didn't even realize Bruno Mars was playing guitar on this until, like, not too recently. And, well, maybe it's a couple tracks, but still impressive nonetheless. I mean, he's playing guitar in there, and then he's giving Prince-level vocals. Yes, I made that comparison. And I think it's very well deserved. And then you end off the record on Blast Off, which I think lyrically is the best song on this album. When they're talking about, I took a little something to get here, you know, and you can kind of insinuate there's kind of innuendos toward drug use. But it really does, every time I listen to that song, it feels like I am floating into space. And the harmonies, the chord progression, it is one of the most mind-blowing songs of the entire year. Right on par with Leave the Door Open. But yet again, I mean, this is an all-time classic. I know it just came out like 2 months ago, and I know they probably wanted to beat Adele to the punch before she released her record, but quite frankly, they blew Adele out of the water. I mean, this thing is incredible, and I cannot wait to get this on vinyl when it comes out. I cannot wait to listen to this for years to come, and I cannot wait to see what both of them, or even more so, what Silk Sonic does next. So that's it, guys, for this episode. I ran down my favorite albums of 2021. Drop in the comments what some of your favorites were of the year. Let me know if you think I'm missing anything, or tell me something I should listen to if I didn't mention it at all, and I'll let you know if I've heard it or not in the comments. So, once again, guys, I'm just so glad we got a great year for music, and I'm excited to see what we get next year, because There's one artist that's dropping that I'm very, very fond of, and we might get one of the best albums of all time. I'm not going to hype it up, but I think you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, that's for a different video. But thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what I'm doing there, mash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. I love the support. And yeah, guys, keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing. Take it easy, and I'll talk to you in the new year.